Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to talk about sarcophagus. I'm going to explain what it is and I'm going to break it down for you to understand its concept. Sarcophagus is also live on testnet and I'm going to give you a guide on how to interact with it. But before we dive right in, hi, my name is Victor Morgan. I am from the Crips community. We are a set of individuals and crypto enthusiasts that are interested in earning rewards from crypto activities. The name Crips come from crypto drips. If you want to learn more about our community, you can always use the link in the video description. Join us on WhatsApp and other platforms. Now let's get right into the business of the day. Sarcophagus is a decentralized dead man switch, and here is an explanation from Wikipedia of what a dead man switch is. A dead man switch is a switch that is designed to be activated or deactivated if the human operator becomes incapacitated, such as through death, loss of consciousness, or being physically removed from control. Now, let's bring this into the crypto world and see how it works. Say, for example, you have your wallet with you and you have your crypto wallet and you know how it's all secured by your secret phrase and your private key. Say, for example, you have $10 million in that wallet, but nobody knows about your seed phrase. Nobody knows where you wrote down your seed phrase and stuff. What happens if, for example, you, not you, what happens in the case of death, loss of consciousness, or whatsoever? How do your family or how do the people you love get access to your wallet and use your funds when you are or I am no more? Now, when somebody is incapacitated, dead, or lose consciousness, something should actually trigger a particular action. So, right now, with the sarcophagus or with the dead man switch, it's possible for you to hand over your seed phrase to your loved one, your son, your whatsoever. Yep. Now, here are the use cases of sarcophagus. Now, one is will and trust, password recovery, credential pass down, political activism, key material backup, and emergency communications. Now, you can pass on your will, passwords. A password is one of the secret items you might want to pass on to people, credentials, and all of that. All of that can be secured using sarcophagus and passed on to the rightful people. Now, there are three parties involved in the sarcophagus processes. Number one, you have the embalmer. Second, you have the archaeologist, and third, you have the recipient. Now, the embalmer is you or me. Okay, I am the person that is protecting so and so secret or data. I am the embalmer. The archaeologist is a node operator that actually digs out that sarcophagus and unwraps the first layer for the recipient to unwrap the next layer to receive that data. Okay. And then the recipient is the person that you have placed as the person to receive or have access to that data. Now, there are also three phases to all of this process. Okay, there are three phases to this process. Number one is the mummification phase. In the mummification phase, the embalmer will upload the corpse, that is the payload data. Say, for example, I want to send a picture. Now, I have a picture over here that writes sarcophagus and shows the sarcophagus logo. Say, for example, I want to send this picture to somebody, but I do not want every other person to see it. Okay, it's a secret. It's my little secret. And I want to send it to so and so address. And then I want so and so address to receive it at a particular time. That is where sarcophagus comes in. Now, this picture becomes the corpse. You know how you get to bury a person or something and you put a person in the corpse in a coffin? Now, that corpse becomes the data, which is this picture, and that data is placed in a coffin, which is in this case, it's a sarcophagus. Okay. Now, for any other person to say, for example, there gets to be, after some discovery, you get to figure out that this corpse is actually wearing some carat of gold, and you want to dig it out. Okay, you need to dig it out. You need to dig out the coffin, for it to reach the corpse, okay, for it to take out whatsoever valuable thing you want to take out. So that's just the way it works on sarcophagus. The archaeologist is the person that digs out the sarcophagus for you to access this picture. Now, for me, I am the embalmer, you are the embalmer, whosoever the person is that puts that corpse in there, or the data in there, is the embalmer. For the mummification process to be complete, the embalmer has to include other parameters. Number one is the resurrection time. Now, the resurrection time is the time that the embalmer says that if I do not rewrap in this particular time, I want this file to be resurrected. Now, the way the dead man switch works is the person that the embalmer has to be alive, okay, to make a particular action, and if that action is not made, it's going to result to the resurrection, or is going to trigger another reaction. Okay. Now, the resurrection of the sarcophagus is that action that is going to be triggered if the embalmment does not rewrap, and the resurrection time can be set to 30 minutes, 1 day, 1 year, 10 years, or whatsoever. As long as the embalmer is not available to rewrap, then I'm going to explain the rewrap. So just follow me. As long as the embalmer is not available to rewrap, such payload data or the corpse is going to resurrect. Now, the bounty is the primary motivation that is paid to the archaeologist, okay? And the archaeologist only receive that payment on resurrection. Now, what happens is when the embalmer creates a sarcophagus, the embalmer actually costs the archaeologist to dig up that data or that sarcophagus. And by costing the archaeologist, it means that the embalmer has put out a bounty for the archaeologist that is going to resurrect the data. Now, that bounty is called fee. I'm going to explain that, and you're going to see that over the course of this video. Now, the digging fee is actually the payments to the archaeologists that are guaranteed and paid upon rewrapping or resurrection. So here's what happened. Before the resurrection time, if the embalmer decides to rewrap the sarcophagus, a fee is actually paid to the archaeologist. Okay, and upon resurrection too, a fee is also paid to the archaeologist. So all of these things have to be determined before wrapping the sarcophagus. Now, the phase two of the three phases is rewrapping phase. Now, for the embalmer to show that they are alive, the embalmer has to rewrap the sarcophagus by sending a transaction through the contract with a new resurrection time. Now, for the embalmer to show that they are still alive, the embalmer needs to send a transaction to rewrap the sarcophagus with a new resurrection time. And that transaction or that rewrap must be done before the resurrection time. Say, for example, you set the resurrection time for 7 days. That means latest on the sixth day, 23rd, I don't want to say 23rd hour, that sarcophagus should be rewrapped with a new resurrection time. That's the only way that you can prove to the system that you are still alive and that this data should not yet be transferred to the recipient. That's simply what the rewrapping phase is. All of that will be explained later too, maybe in another series of video. Then at the resurrection phase, when the embalmer fails to rewrap the sarcophagus before the resurrection time, uh, the archaeologist is now able to decrypt the outer layer and retrieve the bounty. Now, this is the data. This is the data over here. And this is the inner encryption layer. The archaeologist cannot go beyond, it can't pass, the archaeologist cannot penetrate the layer. Only the recipient has the power to penetrate this inner encryption layer so as to access this data. But for the outer encryption layer, the archaeologist has the power to decrypt this outer encryption layer, and that's what the archaeologist is being paid for. So the archaeology is paid one, the digging fees, and then the bond returned. Okay, and all of this payment and the cost, all of this cost is paid in Sacco. Now, as you can see, only the recipient can decrypt this inner layer. Now, the resurrection phase is that phase of one, for example, like I used 1 week earlier. The resurrection phase happens when the embalmer fails to rewrap the sarcophagus within that 1 week period. Now, immediately what happens immediately is that the archaeologist decrypts the first layer, okay, and then the recipient gets a notification that he has transfer data. This data is available to be or to be decrypted, okay, and then he decrypts this inner layer and he has access to download this data. Now, this data can be anything. It's called the payload data or the corpse. It can be anything. You can actually wrap anything. Anything can actually be this data as long as it's within the file, the storage size. And on Arweave, you can actually store data permanently. Data cannot be deleted but hidden, but you can actually store data permanently. Now, Sarcophagus is the file that sits on Arweave network and is rewrapped and resurrected by the embalmer and archaeologists. I've explained this already. And like I said, inside the sarcophagus is what we call the corpse. Okay. So you can go through, this is the light paper actually. So you can go over it so you get to understand in deep terms what sarcophagus is. Yeah. So this is basically everything. It's actually very simple. I think it's an amazing work they are doing in the ecosystem because preservation of data and secrets is actually very important. So in the next So in the next video or playlist, I'm going to show you how you can interact on the sarcophagus testnet. Okay. The testnet is actually live, so you have like very minimum time to actually interact with it. So in the next video on the playlist, you are going to see how to interact with the testnet. So thanks for watching, guys. Do well to subscribe to the channel so you get notified when I drop the video on how to interact with its testnet. Cheers, guys.